basically...
I want to ask you a bunch of questions.
So here's the question that opens our file. How does an entire town's black population vanish in 24 hours and the country forget it for 100 years? Polling day for the Harding-Cox presidential election, and in Ocoee, a small citrus town 12 miles west of Orlando, the air was already thick with something heavier than humidity. Mose Norman, a black landowner who had organized voter registration, walked to the polls first. He knew his rights. He'd paid his poll tax. Judge John Cheaney in Orlando had told him he was legally entitled to vote. The poll workers disagreed. They turned him away. Twice. Word spread. Norman wasn't alone in trying. July Perry, a prosperous farmer, labor broker, and church deacon, had been quietly paying poll taxes for black neighbors so they could register. He believed in the Constitution on paper.
Being that he was a labor broker for both black and white, he ruled. Some people said that he was not, they said that he was meaner than a junkyard dog. So he probably had to be tough.
Orange County Sheriff Deputy Clyde Pounds swore in local whites to arrest Norman and Perry. What happened next depends on which record you trust.
Violence and intimidation, it's suppressed by law.
So there was a great deal of anxiety on the part of white supremacists in Florida to curb the number of African Americans who were going to vote in the 1920 election. So much so that in Orlando, in Lake City, and Jacksonville, days before the November election in 1920, the Ku Klux Klan marched through the downtown in those places, specifically to intimidate African Americans from going out and casting a vote. Days before the November election in 1920, the Ku Klux Klan marched through the downtown in those places. Days before.
We are all part of a secret society, Stan.
The world is a filthy pit.
You don't need a mob for a century. You just need one night. The fire's free. The paperwork is forever. They called it a riot, not a massacre, not a lynching, not a state-sanctioned land grab. Ocoee Negroes flee, town now white. But was it that really cut and dry? Ocoee sits on prime central Florida citrus soil. 1920 is boom time, land is power, and black Ocoee was self-sufficient, landowners, not sharecroppers. That's a problem if you're running the local economy. Meanwhile, 25-plus black homes, 2 churches, and a Masonic lodge are reduced to ash in under 24 hours. Families flee into the groves with nothing. By the 1930 census, Ocoee's black population is listed as 1. But this doesn't seem to occur naturally, not to us here at It's All Relevant Conspiracy TV. So let's get started. We've already talked about William and William Ellison, black kid, former slave rumored to be the master's son, who later adopted the same name, and the plantation that was a Freemason headquarters. But don't you find it strange that over here in this massacre, we get started with a Mose Norman, who's known as Moses, Father Unknown, because he had the audacity to try to vote. Encouraged and supported by a white judge named Moses Cheaney, same name. It's all relevant. Let's keep digging. Let's talk about overlap, because in 1920 Florida, you couldn't throw a brick without hitting a dull member of the craft, and you couldn't light a cross without a Klansman nearby. Often, same hands. Historians will tell you, not all Masons were Klansmen. True, but they'll whisper the other half. Plenty enough were, especially the dull ones, the rank and file. The men who liked the ritual, the secrecy, the grip, but didn't read the philosophy. After the 1915 rebirth of the Klan in Stone Mountain, recruitment went through fraternal lodges like a virus. Why? Because the infrastructure was already built. Meeting halls, membership rolls, a culture of oaths and silence. All you had to do was swap the apron for a hood after dark. They were the same people. Just like Wisdom Hall, not just playing both sides.
Playing all sides.
October 1920, the Klan holds a public rally outside Orlando. Newspapers call it well attended. Who attends? Sheriff's deputies, judges, business owners. And yes, Masons, not the Grand Masters writing letters to the paper, the dull ones, the ones who show up to lodge for the fried chicken and the feeling of power. Ask yourself, when Deputy Clyde Pounds deputized citizens on November 2nd, where did he find them? The Elks Lodge was closed. The Baptist Church was praying. But the Masonic Hall? That door was open. And the Klan rally had just taken attendance. We're not saying every Mason in Ocoee wore a hood. We're saying enough did. Enough to make sure the posse was deputized fast. Enough to make sure the narrative was set before the bodies were cold. Enough to make sure no one in a blue lodge ever had to answer for what happened in a white robe.
I'm on to you. Put in a word for me. I'd love to be a Freemason.
Oh,
Surprise, motherfucker.
Stop calling it a massacre. It was staged. Freemasonry, the Klan, 2 brotherhoods, 1 playbook. Look at the structure. Masonry gives you the entered apprentice. The Klan gives you the Klansman. Masonry moves you to fellowcraft. The Klan moves you to Kleagle. Masonry crowns you Master Mason. The Klan crowns you Exalted Cyclops. Same ladder, different names. Sound familiar? Now meet Albert Pike, Confederate General, 33rd degree Mason, Sovereign Grand Commander of the Scottish Rite. He rebuilt American Masonry after the Civil War, wrote the book Morals and Dogma, and turned D.C. into a Masonic temple town. But rumor has it Albert Pike was more than that. Rumor has it he was the Chief Justice of the KKK Invisible Empire, as well as co-author of its first constitution. Dual membership, 33 degree Freemason, military, and Klansman. No signed paper proves it, but his fingerprints are all over it. The Klan's 1870s ritual book reads like Pike's Masonic manuals. Oaths, symbols, trials, blindfolds, same as all his other endeavors. With all these secret societies, what was being kept secret? What was discussed at all the meetings? I'll tell you what they discussed. They discussed these massacres. They discussed these riots. They discussed great fires that destroyed valuable records of lineage and assets. These psyops, that's what they were discussing. The Klan adopted the apron's logic, but called it a robe instead. Pike dies in 1891. The Klan goes dark. Then 1915, Birth of a Nation hits theaters. William Joseph Simmons revives the Klan. Simmons was a Mason and a Spanish-American war officer. Do you see a pattern? Because it's all relevant. Nathan Bedford Forrest, Confederate General, the Klan's first Grand Wizard. No Masonic records tie Forrest to a lodge. Of course, that'd make it too easy. But his Klan ran on military command. Regiments, officers, discipline. Same as Masonry's chain of command. Worshipful Master, Senior Warden, Junior Warden. It's a pattern. Unspoken, undocumented, just there for you to see it or not. Look at Ocoee, 1920. Election day. Black men try to vote. Who led the mob? Local sheriff, deputies, men with Masonic rings, men who rode with the Klan. No memo had to say do this. The template was already installed. Apron on Sunday, hood on Monday. Same handshake, same vow of silence. Both groups claim they're not political. Both shape politics from the shadows. Different mission statements. Same method, control through secrecy. Coincidence or shared DNA? The lodge taught you the ritual. The army taught you the rank. The Klan gave you the target. That's the overlap. That's the narrative. The aprons and the hoods. One wasn't the other, but it trained the other. And in Ocoee, 1920, they showed up together. So who ran Ocoee? The badge, the hood, the apron, all the same hand. Masons wore the sheriff's star. Masons rode with the Klan. Masons sat on the bench. And Masons were the catalyst on the other side too. Black lodges, white lodges, different doors. Same house. One side lights the match. The other side hands out the ballot. One side writes the police report. The other side writes the obituary. Control the social narrative. Control the official narrative. Control both teams on the field. That's how you burn a town. Erase the deeds. And call it a race riot. Black Masons told men to vote. White Masons told men to shoot. Same order. Different role. Same grand architect. The aprons policed the streets. The hoods purged the streets. The judge blessed both. Coincidence or coordination? In Ocoee, the Masons weren't in the background. They were the whole board. Left and right. Problem and response. One brotherhood. Two faces. And they owned the narrative before the first shot. So the point is, the Klansmen we see making this bold statement, a couple days prior to the Ocoee Massacre, could very well be Masonic operatives, setting the stage for the events to come.
Days before the November election in 1920, the Ku Klux Klan marched through the downtown in those places, specifically to intimidate African Americans from going out and casting a vote.
Open your eyes and look. You'll see.
Open your eyes!
Take a look at this clip from the movie Rosewood.
I ain't no boy. See, I's a man. I's a Mason. Frank. Yes, sir. You traveling man? Who asked us, sir? You Mason took the oath to save this gospel. You Mason took the oath to save this gospel. You Mason took the oath to save this gospel. You Mason took the oath to save this gospel. He's a white Mason. And you think he'd help you? I can tell you, boy, I swear, sometime you ain't got more sense than some of these horses. I'm telling you. That man, he ain't nothing but trouble.
It's no coincidence.
There's also a second story about how all this began.
Pay attention.
According to Miami's Center for Racial Justice, and I quote, July Perry owned considerable property in the Ocoee area and had a fine home on the Apopka Road. Mose Norman was also a relatively well-off black man and a successful farmer. He drove a brand new, beautiful convertible car, which was very unusual for a black man at that time in Ocoee. The economic status of the two black men is important in that there is the belief by some that the Ocoee incident was caused by economic jealousy, poor whites attacking well-off blacks. But the Ocoee riot had little to do with the economic status of Mose and Perry.
Ask yourself
All these
this.
videos about the massacre, but none ever talk about Burley
I
Jones.
want to ask you a bunch of questions.
According to Wikipedia, seeking to distance himself from the growing tensions and curry favor from whites, a black ex-slave, Burley Jones, spread a false rumor to his former master that armed blacks were gathering at the home of July Perry. This account was believed because its source was a black man. Thereafter, some white Ocoee residents were deputized by Orange County Sheriff Deputy Clyde Pounds and charged with arresting Julius July Perry and Mose Norman. Why would Burley Jones just lie? What would he benefit or gain? Another crazy fact they never mentioned is, when the Ocoee population got down to as low as 2 blacks, Burley Jones was one.
Are you freaking kidding me?
The devil is always in the details hiding, right? Let's keep going. So we got Moses helping Moses, the Masons, the Klan, and the newly deputized officers shape-shifting into one another, and now Burley Jones, the bold-faced liar. One city, one black man left. Coincidence?
If you open your eyes,
Or was he
and
part
look,
of the plan?
You'll see things for
Without
what they
Jones,
are.
there is no massacre. Crazy thing is, July Perry was a black Mason. Prince Hall. Mose Norman was too. You don't drive a new convertible in 1920 Ocoee. Own land. Register voters. Without a lodge behind you. That was the Black Lodge. And Burley Jones? Ex-slave turned informant, the one who stays when everyone else is gone? He fits the pattern too. Think about it. White Masons on one side, Judge Moses Cheaney, Deputy Clyde Pounds, the deputized posse, the Klan. Black Masons on the other, Perry, Norman, and the bold-faced liar, Burley. Same house, different doors. Prince Hall founded Black Masonry because white lodges wouldn't let blacks in.
Allegedly.
But the structure, identical. Worshipful master, senior warden, junior warden, oaths, secrecy, silence. So Ocoee wasn't white versus black. It was Mason versus Mason. White apron sends black apron to the polls. Black apron triggers the rumor through another black apron. White apron deputizes white aprons to raid. And who owns the narrative after? The lodges, both sides. That's why Burley is the last one left. He wasn't the traitor to his people. He was loyal to his lodge. Moses helping Moses, Masons policing Masons, Masons hanging, or pretending to hang, Masons. Same as Wisdom Hall, controlled opposition. Black Masons on one side, White Masons on the other, and the Grand Lodge watches both bleed. Black Masons and White Masons, not enemies, co-authors. One pushes the vote, one spreads the lie, one deputizes the mob. Public sees race war, Lodge sees land transfer. PSYOP 101, control both sides, write the problem in the response. Ocoee wasn't division, it was union, behind closed doors.
It's no coincidence.
Every headline hides a pattern